Our guest tonight is Lucha Underground star Chavo Guerrero. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on? How you guys doing?
We're very, very excited. While many wrestling fans know you from your time in WWE, you have found recent success with Lucha Underground. As a veteran of the business, how does it stack up against other companies you have worked for? And what is the perception from the wrestlers about the product?
Well, as far as it's stacking up, I mean, our product speaks for itself. If you watch the show, I think we're the only program out there that says, watch everybody and then watch us, and you tell me which one you guys like better. Because that's how confident we are in our just in our show, just with our product, man. It's something completely different, and everybody says they're different. Nobody really is, and we were the first ones to kind of really come out and be different. Everybody's just a carbon copy of WWE, and we made like wrestling like in a movie where it's different, it's totally different. So, uh, as far as stacking up against other organizations, I think it does because we're just a different product. A lot of times WWE, you got WWE is like the Coca-Cola of wrestling, and everybody else is just a carbon copy of them. So in a sense, they're like RC Cola. They're just another cola that's not as good as Coca-Cola. Well, we almost created our own show, kind of like we created our own drink. We created like a Red Bull. There was no space there before, and that's kind of what we did. They're both beverages, they're both wrestling. They're just different. They're not in the same category, and I think that's where we're at. And as far as how it for me, just being just a part of this, I'm a pretty big part of the program to where I'm involved in just a lot of different aspects instead of just wrestling on this program. So with man, it's hard for me to I can't say enough about it because I'm so proud of this product and just so we've already been announced for season 3 has been picked up. It just we're pretty stoked. And if you just saw The Rock's Instagram today, he was wearing a Lucha Underground T-shirt.
Yeah, that's the ultimate endorsement right there.
You think, right? Hey,
Yeah.
not just that. I was at a Comic Con in London, England, and there were some other wrestlers there, and Shawn Michaels was there. Shawn Michaels is like Mr. WWE, right? And I didn't even know he was there, and all of a sudden I'm on the balcony, I hear Chavo, and I look over, it's Shawn Michaels. I say, hey, what's up, Shawn? He goes, hey, man, I love what you're doing over there. Lucha Underground. I'm like, wow. I mean, he flagged me down to tell me that. Steve Austin's a big big supporter of the show. It's kind of it's cool to see that, man. I don't see those guys loving TNA and that kind of stuff. It's a different product. Everybody likes it.
Well, Lucha Underground it's unlike anything wrestling fans have ever seen, like you mentioned, and it's gained really a fanatical following over the past year. But what about it initially drew you in and convinced you to be part of it? And how has it compared to the expectations that you had for it going in?
Well, what drew me in is they asked me if I wanted a job. I'm like, well, I don't have one right now. Yeah, okay, sure. but really, they came to me and said, hey, we want you to be part of this. When I kind of find out what it was, Lucha on a LA network that was kind of billed as an Hispanic network, I was like, wow, this is right up my alley, wrestling and lucha, and I mean, I've done all this stuff, so I'm like, well, hey, I just think I have more to offer, and they agreed. Once we talked, they're like, yeah, absolutely. So I came in as an agent and then as a producer. So, when this first show first started, they had never done wrestling before. Although these were Mark Burnett people who are, some of the best in the business, they had never done wrestling. So that being said, there was a lot of hiccups. So when I was there, me and also Krista Joseph from WWE and Chris Roach and Matt Stolman, we anything in the ring, the wardrobe, the mats. I was telling everybody, hey, you guys are doing this. This is wrong. This is not correct. Fix this. Do that. To the camera work, the camera guys are some of the best in the biz, but they've never shot TV before. So all this stuff that I'd learned really from WWE and watching the master work, Vince McMahon, I kind of was telling this kid, you want to shoot this right here, and you do it in your own way. Like, hey, check this out. Maybe shoot it from this angle. You guys do it how you want. Oh yeah, great. And sound, wardrobes, the ring would be wrong. I said, hey, just fix this. The ring, this mat needs to be bigger. this part of the ring is wrong. And so I was kind of fixing all of that. You know, the wardrobe, I was going to the wardrobe ladies and saying, hey, they can't wrestle in these because you have a spike hanging out of their knee pad, and they're going to die. You know what I mean? So people are like, oh, we didn't realize that. The director, I was telling the director that we had before. Right now, Quinn Saunders is our director. He's awesome. But the one we had before, he was actually going, well, why are they outside of the ring? I said, oh, they have 10 minutes, 10 seconds to come back in. They're like, oh, they do? He didn't even know that. So I was kind of explaining everything and doing this, and you know, they're great at their jobs, which is awesome. They're very good at their jobs. It's just they had never done their job in wrestling before. But once I showed them, once a lot of the other guys showed them, right away these guys picked it up and now they're above and beyond. You know, you see the show, it just takes off. So, you know, when I came on to the show, really, I don't think they knew what I knew, and I don't think I knew what I knew. I didn't know. Like, all of a sudden, you just start doing it, and it's like, I guess 75 years of wrestling has paid off. You know, and all of a sudden, all this stuff that we've been saying, it's like, God, how do I know that? I was talking to Finley about that one time, and there's a lot of stuff instilled in us that we know, but we don't know why we know it and how we know it. You know, so it's kind of cool.
PG?
Well, when Lucha Underground first started, you started as one of the top heels, but then your role diminished as the season progressed, it seems, and we assumed that you would actually have a much larger role because it would make sense to us to promote you as a top star because you have worldwide recognition. So was there a reason for that, for your role diminishing as the season progressed?
Well, if you look at it, let's say a regular TV show. Remember, this is not a wrestling show. This is a TV show. It's a little different. So that being said, if you look at a TV show, you look at Game of Thrones, for instance, you know, Khaleesi or, you know, the Baratheons, they're not on every episode. They come in, their storylines come in, they intertwine. They come in and they come out. And then they'll be gone 2 or 3 or 4 episodes. And all of a sudden they come back and they come back strong. And that's what we do in Lucha Underground. We don't shove John Cena down your throat every single show. And next thing you know, you're just tired of him. You know, she's talking for 25 minutes. We don't do that. So, and then again, we have an hour show. We're not trying to fill 3 hours of TV. So we have an hour show. So you have, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 different storylines. Although there are 10 storylines on the show, or not more, you really have 2 or 3 storylines talked about in that episode. So sometimes the storyline goes away for 3 or 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden it comes back strong. Bam! So with my storyline, you know, it's like wrestling. Well, it's still wrestling in a sense. We ride on the fly on some things. You know, somebody gets hurt. We pick up a new star. You know, somebody doesn't. You know, whatever. It just is not factored in. So we have to change things. You know, on the fly sometimes. So me coming in as a big heel was not really planned. I was coming in the first match, me and Blue Demon. You know, Guerrero's versus Blue Demon, and all of a sudden, the match, it just wasn't what we wanted. It just not that it was bad, it just wasn't what we wanted. So right from there, we're like, let's change this up. And Chris Joseph comes to me and goes, hey, what if you just decided to turn you right away and just start killing people? And like, absolutely, let's do it. So we did the second episode, and then that just morphed into I just had everybody coming down. Conan had a big part in it, you know, of having a great storyline, having people come and feed me and refs, and all of a sudden send Sexy Star just me laying out everybody in the ring and me sitting there on the chair. And then all of a sudden the paramedics come in. The paramedics, these are real paramedics that had no idea what was going on. They weren't plants. They came in. If you see, I'm struggling with Blue Demon. I'm trying to pull him in, and they're trying to pull him out like for real. So I just reached over and started hitting the paramedics. Bam, bam, you know, I was like, I started hitting them going, hey, you know, too bad. We got to make this real. Although I hit the smaller one more than I hit the bigger one. You know? So I hit him, bam, 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 and pulled him back and just started laughing. And they were kind of like, what's going on? Well, it was a real reaction. It just happened on the fly like that, which was great. It worked great. But that's kind of, you know, how I turned big heel, and we ran with that for a little bit. And then, you know, I'm not pulling a Triple H. I'm not saying they're going to be the champ. I don't need to be the champ. That's not why I'm not being the old wrestling booker that, you know, the booker's always a champ in the territory. You know, we're not doing that. That's not my deal. Although I'm not the booker here, but I have some say. So I'm not gonna. That's not my role. I'm not there to do that. My ego's not that big. I've done that stuff. I don't need to do that. I'm doing whatever best for this show. And if it takes me to be the champ, well, then we'll do it. But if right now it doesn't, so then I don't need to be. We need to get these other guys over. I can't do the stuff that Prince Puma can do. There's a time for it, there's a time not for it. And right now it's not for it. So, we just kind of pass the torch and help these guys along. And that's what wrestling should be. That's how a program should be, because then you get the best of the program. And who wins is the fans. And that's what we're doing.
Well, you mentioned working behind the scenes, and you still do your work in the ring. But at this point in your career, which do you enjoy more, and do you feel you will continue working behind the scenes when your in-ring career eventually ends?
Absolutely. That's why I'm working behind the scenes. That's the next trend. The next progression is to work behind, is to get behind the scenes. And a lot of people are not able to do it, So me being able to do it's kind of cool. So, and it's something that my family's done this before. It's not like this is the first go round. My grandfather had his own promotion when he broke off from CMLL and Luroff. He had his own promotion, and for years he thrived in the territory of the world class days. Von Erich would come through and wrestle all those guys. So, and he had it over in Mexico and in the United States. And my dad was, if you remember, my dad for Mike LaBelle at the Olympic Auditorium, which I believe was WWA or something like that. I don't know. I forget what the name of it was. My dad was a booker at 30 years old, and he's been the booker at other places. So we've done this kind of stuff. We've done everything in wrestling. We've sold tickets, sold programs. Picked tickets at the door. We've set up the rings. We've promoted. We've done everything to release the wrestling. So we kind of know all this stuff. So that was the next progression, of course, is to become an agent, if you want to call it. And if Eddie hadn't passed, he would have done the same thing. There's too much knowledge that has been passed down to us for us not to be a part of wrestling somehow. And what I'm very fortunate of is being able to be a part of a different kind of wrestling show, a TV show, and what's cool is that I'm teaching them all this little bit of wrestling that I know, and they're teaching me this whole lot of TV that they know. So I'm kind of going to, TV school just right from working here. And from this, it's leading on. I'm starting my own production company and actually have a couple of reality shows in the works. So it's progressive, So,
Mike Chiari?
Well, my favorite part of your in-ring career, and a period that many regard as the best time period in SmackDown history, was the dominance of the SmackDown 6 in 2002 with yourself, Eddie, Edge, Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit. In retrospect, where does that time rank for you in terms of your career accomplishments? And why do you feel like the six of you guys had such great chemistry in the ring?
Well, first of all, the reason me being part of the SmackDown of that era is awesome. And talking to Paul Heyman and hearing him talk about it, he was booking at that time, and we really wanted to compete with Raw. Raw was Vince McMahon's baby, and we started kicking Raw's butt. So once we started beating them, we were calling, I think Michael Cole at one time was calling Raw the B show. We got a lot of heat for that because, there wasn't the B. This wasn't designed to be the B show. It was designed to be the A show. And we started kicking his butt. And that wasn't just me. We had Undertaker and Kay. We just had a great lineup. Kennedy was there. We had a great lineup on SmackDown. And everybody was just knocking it out of the park. Being part of the SmackDown 6, that ranks way up in my career because of the fact that just working with Eddie. Eddie was my brother, We grew up with a ring in our backyard and grew up together and always wanted to be the tag team champions. And for us to we never played heavyweight champion. We always wanted to be the tag team champion. So for us to win that against the SmackDown 6 at Madison Square Garden at Survivor Series or whatever it was, that was pretty big for us. And after that, we decided to set other new goals, which is become heavyweight champions. And, we both achieved that. Although mine was the ECW. I won't downplay it. But you know, we just being part of that was awesome. The reason it was so good is because we had Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit against me and Eddie, and we would literally try to beat each other up every night in the wrestling sense. But we try to outshine each other, and not shine each other by taking the match, but by giving the match also. So we just had, you know, 4 guys in the ring that were, you know, pretty good at the time. And then you throw in Rey Mysterio and Edge, and it's just like any of those combinations just killed it every single night. I remember one time it was me and Eddie. I think we were tagging against one of the teams, maybe Edge and Rey. And Hulk Hogan was back, you know, and he was hot. And he went on right before us, and the crowd went nuts, went crazy. And Michael Hayes comes up to us and goes, and we're in the gorilla position. He says, "Hey guys, sorry we had to do that. You know, we didn't, you know, you got to follow that." And I looked at Michael and I said, "I'll follow him any day of the week, because what we're going to offer the people is completely different what he offers." Now, he's Hulk Hogan. Of course, he offers a lot. We were going to offer a different style. And we went out there and killed it. As we came back, we walked through the curtain. I looked at Michael, and he just looked at me and nodded his head like, "Yeah, that's right. You killed it. You did what you said you were going to do." So, you know, we were just, and he had a lot of confidence at that time, you know, going in with me and Eddie. Even if I didn't know what was going on, if he didn't know what was going on, I just knew that it was going to work out just fine, because we just been in the ring so long together. And if he couldn't step up, I'd step up. If I couldn't step up, he'd step up. It was just there, you know, it was just there. So there's just being a part of that ranks really high, really, really, really high in my career. Now, this is Lucha Underground is ranking really high also, because it's a completely different part of my career. It's like a whole new chapter, and being a part of a brand new show right from the ground up, and now seeing it just take off, and seeing people believe in what I believed in, and what the guys at Lucha at LA Network, at Lucha Underground, and all that staff that believed in, you know, that they're like, we can do this. It could be great. And I don't even think the big money guys knew what they had. You know, I was like, you guys, you know what you have? I remember talking to John Fogelman one time and said, "Guys, do you know what you have here? This is going to be really big." And he goes, "I hope so. You know, I mortgaged my house on it." And I was like, well, if I would have had the opportunity, I would have mortgaged my house on it too. So it's happy to see it come to fruition, what we kind of created. And it's not even close to being done. We have so much more on the table coming out.
PG?
Well, you recently posted a picture on Instagram of The Rock training in a Lucha Underground t-shirt, and how he appears to be a believer in the product now too. And as fans since the first episode, we promote Lucha Underground as much as possible. What do you think Lucha Underground needs to do, or continue to do, to keep pushing towards more mainstream success?
Okay, there's a couple questions there. So, really cool to see Rock see it and be a believer, as you want to call it. That's what we call our fans, and not to be confused with believers, but the believers. But you know, just to see him, you know, support it, and other people get it, who get wrestling, you know, that's kind of cool. And he's such a big movie guy now, and a big Hollywood guy, that if it sucks, he could tell you it sucks. You know, he doesn't think it sucks. He thinks it's pretty damn cool. To keep pushing forward, we almost like, I compared our second season to the Terminator movies. The first Terminator was an awesome movie. I loved it. So when the second Terminator came out, I was like, well, the first one's pretty good. They're going to have to top that. Well, that's when they put all the big budget into it, and man, they blew it out of the water. And then the third Terminator was the Liquid Terminator. It was another awesome. They blew that out of the water. So you have to continue to outdo yourself every time, and keep the standard up. And I think us being at an hour, we can do that. And just the production team with Skip Films we have behind us, and just our camera work, our editors, our directors. I just feel that we just have a really good team in together, that we will continue not to push the envelope, but continue to deliver a great product. And I've said it from the start. I've said it in multiple interviews. Wrestling fans, it's not hard to put on a good program, and wrestling fans are very, very loyal. All you have to do is give them a good product and treat them with respect. And that's what a lot of promotions don't do. So many times I have sat there and had an argument with the brass when they said, hey, we want you to do this with Rey Mysterio. I'm like, I can't do that with Rey Mysterio. I did something like that a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Oh, no one will remember that. Yes, they will remember that. Absolutely remember that. You cannot treat wrestling fans like they're ignorant. They're not. They get it. So you have to continue to not be lazy and give them a good product. And it's difficult sometimes. Sometimes you really got to rack your brain to get it to do it. But you have to do that every single week. And there's a lot of things that I learned from Vince McMahon. I remember one time he was saying, I came out and I had a good match, and he got up and clapped and said, damn, that was excellent. He talked about it later. Yeah, the way he talks, and he talked about it later. He said, you have a good match. You have all these medals on your chest. But when you wake up in the morning, the medals are all gone, and you have to go get them again. I said, absolutely. So learning that from him, that's how I treat Lucha Underground. We have a great show. That's awesome. We got medals on our chest. And the next morning we wake up and they're all gone, and we have to go right back and start thinking of how we're going to give these fans the next great show. And being a TV show, every episode doesn't have to outdo the last episode if we're working towards something. Get back to Game of Thrones. There's some times when you have an episode that's more of a character building and storytelling as opposed to the big bang explosions. And that's what we do at Lucha Underground. There's times that we always have really good matches, but there's times that we have incredible matches because there's character building. We're trying to invest the people into these wrestlers, and the next show or the next couple shows, you're going to see a big payoff on that, So, Breaking Bad was very much like that. Breaking Bad was very much to where some of these shows, we've had, Walt turning and killing his brother-in-law, and some of them just kind of ended. They were telling the story. So character building. That's where we're at.
Mike Yuri, final question. Final round of questions. Sorry.
Well, switching gears a little bit to your time in WCW, I feel like many of WCW's greatest matches obviously came courtesy of the Cruiserweight division. But one of WCW's biggest criticisms, I think, is that they maybe didn't do enough to elevate Cruiserweights like yourself, like Eddie, Mysterio, Jericho, those types of guys to a main event level. So looking back, do you agree with that assessment, or do you feel like the top Cruiserweights were utilized correctly in WCW?
We can cry about it all we want, and we've all done it. Oh, we should have been used better. We should have been doing this. We should have been doing that. You have the main guys. It was Hogan and Luger and Hall and Nash and those guys. And at times they didn't want to work with us. They wanted to work with their own guys. Okay, fine, I get it. We may have not been at that level, but remember, those guys were not at that time. WCW was different. They're not trying to do what's best for the company. They were trying to do what's best for themselves, because of the fact that that's just the way it was structured. That's the way wrestling was. Nothing against them. It's just the way it was. In WCW, again, with the Cruiserweights, we had finally had a platform to show our stuff. Well, we never really had that before. Wrestling was always, at least American wrestling was, you had to be 6'8", 300 pounds to get anything done, to get any recognition. With us coming in, I think we changed the way people perceived wrestling, and I think we changed wrestling completely. I think Dean, Malenko, Eddie, and Chris Benoit, when they all came in, they really had a huge hand in changing wrestling. And then Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio and us, we all came after. But they changed wrestling when all of a sudden you got WWE added a light heavyweight belt, and then all of a sudden you saw Kane doing a hurricanrana. It just they changed the way wrestling was perceived, and really that's lucha libre. Anytime you see any of those big moves and flashy, that cruiserweight style, it really came from lucha, and went to Japan, went to other places, and then came here to the United States. So yeah, we could have been used better, but whatever. That's the way it was, and we all learned from it and went on to become bigger stars other places. And for years, they didn't want to give the small guys the push. Let's say WWE, Kurt Angle had to fight for his spot, who's not a small guy, but not a big guy. You had Chris Jericho, had to fight for his spot hard. Then all of a sudden you had Eddie. Eddie got that one run, and then they took it off him when he was hot, red hot. You had Ray. Ray, they used him. He made the champ, and then they gave it again to him for one night and took it off him. CM Punk had to fight for it. He had to fight hard for it. Daniel Bryan had to fight hard. Bryan Danielson, he had to fight real hard for it, and got it for a minute, but has never really been the man. Had never been the Triple H or the John Cena. And for what it's worth, it's whatever. That's just the way it goes. We could cry over it all day long, but hey, if we were really that good enough, they'd put it on us and put the rocket to us, if you want to call it that. But we're just having the platform that we have now that we've never really had before. It's pretty cool. And then with Lucha Underground, you have all of these awesome, cool, great wrestlers that are some smaller guys, some big guys, that we're able to showcase that and kind of give a whole different style. And our style of wrestling is a total hybrid. It's not a lucha libre, and it's not an American style. It's like a crossbreed. It's lucha with, sometimes with wrestles and actually trying to sell some stuff. And I'm trying to get these guys to sell even more, so it's still a work in progress. But people are liking it. People are loving it.
Loving it, for sure.
They're loving that style. It's just a little different. Even it's different than what you see in Lucha Libre, a Triple Mania show. It's different because that's how we make it.
BG?
You mentioned Daniel Bryan, who had to announce that he's retiring from wrestling. When you eventually decide the time is right to retire from the ring, is there an opponent out there that you would like to do it against? And would you want to win or lose that match?
It doesn't really matter when you're losing, just having a great match. That is what it means. As long as the fans got their money's worth, that's what means everything. I've won a lot and I've lost a lot, and some of the best matches I've had I've lost. So to me that doesn't matter. And for Daniel Bryan, we feel for him for sure. If it's a shoot, which I think it is, hey, no one wants to see their career end like that. I was happy to see a guy get invested and have them push the guy for a while. And who knows, would he be remembered this way if he would have had his career, or would they have buried him? You have to remember, they also beat him at a WrestleMania in whatever it was, 10 seconds or whatever it was. So there's those days too that he's had. He's had his ups and downs. So, will he be remembered as one of the greatest because his career got cut short? You never know. And there's no doubt of his ring ability. The guy's excellent, very, very good in the ring. He's been that good for a really long time, and now he's finally got a little recognition, which is good to see.
Well, let's go out on this one. This is our final question. Let's talk about your Viva La Raza clothing brand. Tell the fans about your new business venture and how Rey Mysterio got involved.
Yeah, man. So basically, I had trademarked Viva La Raza. It's VLR, we call it, for clothing. And basically, we're just trying to give. There's no real brand out there with like a Latino lifestyle, like a Latino background. That's not just for Latinos, it's kind of for everybody. But right now in culture, pop culture, Latino is very pop culture. Lowriders, everybody in Hollywood is dressing as Day of the Dead or for Halloween. Anything with the lucha mask, it's kind of getting mainstream. It's very, very cool. So we're kind of creating that kind of brand. It's a lifestyle brand. And I kind of talked to Ray about it, and he saw it and believed in it, so he jumped on board. And right now we're in transition. We went from kind of starting out, not knowing where we were going to go, and kind of blew up real fast. So, and now we're in the process of going retail and just kind of getting the brand a lot bigger, and we just got a lot of supporters behind it, and not just wrestling fans. We got a lot of Latinos, which is the biggest growing demographic in the United States, and just really it's just kind of blowing up, so it's kind of cool. Everything kind of hitting at once. I got, TV shows and movies that we're doing, and being a stuntman in Hollywood, and and clothing lines, and it's kind of a lot going on right now. It's kind of cool. It's a good time.
Well, you know what? A huge thank you to Chavo Guerrero for coming on the show tonight. Tell the fans where they can support you, man.
Man, follow me on Twitter at NextWarrior and also on Instagram at Chavo Guerrero Jr. And always thank you for supporting the Guerrero family, La Familia Guerrero, and always Viva La Raza.
Amazing. Also, another huge thank you. Good luck moving forward, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, guys. Be safe, and anything they can do for you, let me know.